Test, testing. What the hell happened? All right, I'll have to wait again. Damn, stupid idiots with the. All right, testing. This has got to be one of the most annoying things about this stupid setup. I swear, I turn my back and suddenly I find there's no sound. I must have bumped something, must have been the cord or something. That's the really annoying part because it's like once it's disconnected, it will not reconnect. Very frustrated by that. All right. Anyway, I apologize, folks. I can only guess I must have again bumped the cord or something. Can't believe that just that little thing just simply cut off the sound. All right. Nonetheless, where were we? Okay. Corned beef hash. As we were. Corned beef hash. Anyway, so as I was saying enough times, here is our corned beef hash because, I'm sure I'm not the only one in this situation right now. It always has to be a plastic Tupperware container or some kind of plastic container. Namely, the corned beef is done from last night. We have leftovers. And you know what happens to the leftovers from the corned beef and cabbage? You put all the vegetables in this plastic container, and it has to be a plastic container. Then you stick it in the back of the fridge for about 3 weeks or so before throwing it out. But instead of doing that, they've decided to popularize corned beef hash as a way to, to encourage people to use the leftovers. And why not? All right. Here we go again. Wait a second. When you're saying here we go again. Okay. I think the sound is good. Okay. All right. Anyway. Yeah. Hopefully the chaos is out of the way. But nonetheless, that's the whole point. Because, well, this is also known in England, as you know, as bubble and squeak, which is another fancy, cute name that they give to leftover hash. But instead of talking about it, I suppose we might as well start putting it together and seeing what we can come up with. This wok is definitely heated up. At least I can say that much. We have got it nice. So we are about hitting 600 degrees here on the sweet spot. So that is not bad at all. Okay. Hello, Zero PEF for PEF. You are just in time where hopefully we're not going to have a little flare up here because, as I said, this wok is heated up really hot. And it's a good thing, too, because we are going to do what you're not supposed to do, and that is apply cold food to a hot wok. Yeah. All right, just getting a little, there we go. Getting a little of this hot oil all over the place. And now that we've done that, let's have some fun here. Of course, the nice thing about this is that these leftovers are, of course, all well cooked. Which means all we really have to do is heat them up until they're good and hot. A little bit more on there. All right. Okay. Yes, they're always starting the ads already. Sheesh. Gotta love YouTube. Well, I guess that's what we get for getting it for free. Okay. All right, corned beef hash with eggs. Well, don't worry, I do actually have a couple eggs that we are going to be throwing onto this when it's done tonight. But anyway, since again, this is a just a leftover hash, I mean, we don't have to really recook it. All we have to do is get it good and hot. I mean, everything has turned into mash already. And really, the whole point of this is to make this mash a little bit more appetizing. Which, of course, comes to the story of Bubble and Squeak. Bubble and Squeak, even though I suppose leftovers have been around since as long as there's been food, Bubble and Squeak is a term that was really popularized during World War II Britain. And I learned this years before the YouTube channel Tasting History started. Namely, of course, that was during the London Blitz, when they had food rationing and everybody had to stretch their budget as much as possible. Funny, sounds like today, doesn't it? In that when they had leftovers, they did what they could to make them more appealing so that people would actually eat them and thus save food. And somehow they came up with the term Bubble and Squeak to go with it. I personally think the name Bubble and Squeak is meant especially to appeal to kids, because that does sound like a kid-friendly type of name. Other folks have said that Bubble and Squeak is the name that's made when it's being cooked. Still others have said that Bubble and Squeak is the sound that people make after they've eaten it. But we won't go there, or at least not too far into there. Anyway, yeah, I mean, as you can see, this is so much of a mash that we could just flatten it out like this. I could just leave it as is for the moment. All right. Okay, just making sure that the sound is still working. Yay. Hello, Strong's Adventures, here for the cast iron. Well, you've already missed one mess up tonight, unfortunately. So, although things do seem to be going okay now. And hello to Ronald Coward as well. I'm glad you're hearing it okay. And hello to John Surf 5. Okay, good. Yes, so far, so good. Of course, I never want the sound to go out. It just seems to happen every so often. All right. Once we've done that, let's go to step 2. And mix in a little bit of this corned beef. Oh, something. Damn it. Okay. Good thing is we cooked the corned beef until it came apart too. So it's not too difficult to cut apart. Though I'm thinking maybe I should have taken a knife and diced up the corned beef before adding it to the pot. Well, I don't think it matters too much. That's one reason why I'm glad I'm using a nice sturdy metal wok shovel here. You know, every time I do a wok stir fry, I mention how great it is to use a wok shovel. Anybody who does have a wok shovel would certainly agree with that. I have little doubt about that, because These things here are fantastic for wok cooking. They are made especially to be used in a wok. They fit the shape of the wok perfectly, and you can feel the difference when you use one. If you have not, if you have a wok and you do not have a wok shovel, a chaun, C-H-A-U-N, yeah, I think, no, U-A-N, Chinese spelling, then you need to run, not walk, to a Chinese market and get a wok shovel. They are dirt cheap. They are very sturdy, extremely useful. You will get a ton of use out of it if you have a wok. Anyway, as I said, all it really is a matter of just that, stir-frying everything around until it's good and hot. In fact, at this point, might as well throw a cover on the wok and let it sit for a few minutes. Okay, to be sure everything is good and hot. All right, now that that's done, I'm hoping that the sound is improved even more. I'm still trying to get the sound level right here anyway. I did another adjustment to the sound before the video started tonight so that hopefully the sound, the software here won't compensate for it and it won't dampen the sound. At least that's my hope. Get a wok shovel and you'll never be able to understand how you lived all those years without one. Absolutely. Works for so much more than just a wok. Yes, well, thank you very much, Mud, and I certainly agree with that. I do believe you were doing a stir fry of your own just last night. Yeah, it's one of those essential tools. It is as useful as a spatula. Well, technically, it is a kind of spatula. Mud's is in the room. Yes, and as I mentioned, I should probably ask Mud what brand or how old is his wok? Is he using a Lodge wok or is he using a wok from a different manufacturer? As I pointed out before, I didn't even technically buy it. I obtained my Lodge wok in January of 2011. And I will always remember that because it was the first piece of cast iron I actually, sort of bought. I used a Christmas gift card. I used an Amazon gift card that I received for Christmas of 2010. And this was the very first piece of cast iron I acquired for myself. I'd already had a cast iron skillet, and I was given a cast iron grill pan by my parents for Christmas. But this one, I decided I wanted to go out and get. And I have been using this wok now for the past 15 years. This January was the 15th anniversary of this cast iron wok. As I mentioned, it was from their ProLogic series. And Mud has a Lodge 14-inch wok, and he's had it for about 7 years. Nice. I shredded my leftover corned beef with my mixer. Hey, that's a good idea, too. As they say, whatever works. He's using a metal utensil on cast. Oh, yes, Strong Adventure. Yes, I am. I'm using a metal utensil on cast iron. Yeah. And of course, we can get on with all of those urban legends. And look at this. I think this is already heating up nicely. Poof. Not bad at all. That didn't take long. But yes, that is one thing that I find very amusing. Oh, good. I think we're starting to get a crust on this, too. So I think we are doing not too bad at all here. Some of the myths about cast iron, even more than the one, don't ever use soap on cast iron. We've heard that one so much that we are quite frankly tired of it. And there's really no point in replying and arguing with those people who keep saying it again and again and again. Don't use soap on your cast iron. Don't use metal utensils on your cast iron. You don't want to scratch your seasoning on your cast iron. Nope. Yeah. And when in fact the truth is, as you can see here, look. I'm using metal on my cast iron. Oh no! Hey, look, the wok hasn't blown up. And anyway, the worst that can happen when you use a wok or when you use metal on your cast iron is you might scratch the seasoning, especially if it's new and the pan has only been recently seasoned. Well, the best thing to do when you scratch the seasoning is keep cooking with it because you will build up more seasoning and that will take care of the scratches. Might want to give your cast iron another seasoning or two as well, but definitely there's absolutely nothing wrong. Now, cast iron is almost indestructible because here's the thing. All of those people out there telling you, here are the myths of cast iron, or here are the do's and don'ts about cast iron. And they usually talk about using soap or not using soap, or using metal or not using metal, or using beef tallow or organic seed-free, non-GMO, holistic flaxseed oil that's been baptized under a full moon or blue moon or something. The thing that most people don't talk about for some reason in those videos is this: don't drop your cast iron on the floor. I mean, if you're worried about damaging your cast iron, that is most likely way you are going to damage it or break it. Because people can drop their skillet on the floor, on the kitchen floor, just the wrong way, and then suddenly the handle breaks off. There have also been times where the cast iron pan just seems to spontaneously crack. And you hear people telling stories about, well, yeah, I did mine, and suddenly there was a crack like a bullet went off, and lo and behold, my pan had cracked. Yeah, those are very, very rare circumstances, but they have been known to happen. It happened to a friend who I once got her a Walmart Ozark Trail griddle. After only about 2 months of using that griddle just simply split in half. Maybe it might have been the poor quality of that Chinese-made cast iron, which is certainly possible. It's not because it was made in China, but more likely because it's Walmart brand, so not really the best quality there. Another thing that can cause cast iron to crack eventually is fire damage. Okay, but having said all that, let me check out a couple of these comments here. I don't use soap very often because I don't believe you will build seasoning with cooking. As a matter of fact, Radagast, I don't use soap very often on my cast iron. Sometimes I do, most of the times I don't, but largely just because most of the time I don't need it. I really am satisfied with just simply giving my cast iron a good rinsing, or maybe scrub off the burnt-on bits with the chainmail scrubber, and then just simply heat it up on the stovetop burner, and then just give it a quick wipe with Crisco. Yes, cold water on it could do it too. That's true. I've been there before when someone cracked their cast iron or dropped it. Okay. This is getting nice and well done, I think, by the way, as you can see. I mean, this mash here, everything seems to be coming together nicely. This bowl here. Yeah, this is actually. 1 second. Put the microphone back up. Oh, yeah, this is getting a nice, good crust on it. Here you go. They're not burn bits. The crusty bits are the good parts. So, hot, hot, hot. I wanted hot. I got hot. This is not a bad corned beef hash. Okay, so not bad for a starter. Means, now that we've done that, we had better go for part 2. Okay. Now you need hash browns and an egg on top. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have hash browns on me, but that wouldn't be a bad idea. However, I do have an egg. All right. Let's see what we can do about that, shall we? There goes the shell. Every time. Where did that thing go? Okay, and in fact, there we go. Corned beef hash. That sounds pretty good. That kind of reminds me of my brother. My mom would make American chop suey, and my brother liked to call it American slop chewy. Moving between different Wi-Fi's tonight. Flash 1499. Well, I hope that works anyway. Right. A little extra calcium is good for you. Hey, that's not taking long at all. All right. Anyway, as you saw, really the hardest thing about it was simply spreading everything around. I better stop doing that and getting everything good and hot. Because, yeah, once you do that, well, again, this was disgusting looking cold vegetable mash just a few minutes ago. Now it's a very tasty looking hash. Heat does a lot, doesn't it? After cooking corned beef hash, I crack the eggs on top and put it into a preheated oven for 4 to 5 minutes. Well, that's one way to do it. Here's another way, and here's hoping. Oh, by the way, not bad. Okay, however, better leave that on so that the top will okay. But yeah, I mean, what can't be said about a walk that what can be said about a walk that hasn't been said already? Probably nothing. You know how walks have been around for thousands of years. Chinese invented them, so people who are afraid of Chinese cast iron, they must not have a wok in their kitchen, and more the loss. Although, on the other hand, I have been using this wok since pretty much I learned how to cook. This thick, heavy, large cast iron wok. So I am actually at a disadvantage. If I was at a culinary school, I would probably flunk out the wok course because I have only barely used a light wok. That's one thing I really need to practice and get some experience with because I also have barely any experience at all with tossing the food around. Those are the two things that people associate with wok cooking, namely tossing the food. Although, in fact, I mean, while granted, Chinese chefs do that a lot, and some of them are real good at it, at most of those Chinese restaurants that you go to for your takeout, they don't do that. The woks are simply, built right in. Oh, that's looking much better. The woks are simply built right into this huge stove top where, it's got like a propane burner and all that. But I mean, they cannot pick up that wok. So most of the cooks at these Chinese restaurants, they don't toss the food around either. They just pretty much do it the way we're doing it here. They just throw the food in and then just stir it around. Although, of course, again, those woks are much bigger and much hotter than anything I can get on my stove. But I'm still happy with what I have here. Right. Yay. And we can put this right on top. There we are. Wow, this is definitely hot. I can't hold my hand here much longer. But one more look. Right. Thank God for sound. Well, again, I'm glad so far so good. Yeah, in fact, I still have this thing so hot, you can see the smoke coming up. In fact, I mean, considering how early it is, I'd say we better do a second batch of this. All right, salt and pepper, definitely. Or let's do it again, shall we? Oil in. I use canola oil just for the record. It really doesn't matter. The type of oil that you use is really whatever works best for you. There are a few dishes maybe that work better with a certain kind of oil, but not many. The best thing to say is to use a higher heat point or smoke point oil so that you can get it nice and hot without smoking and without burning it. Oh, that's the other thing I think I can mention. And I know I've said this before. When I was first learning how to cook in cast iron, I made the mistake that a lot of people make when they first start learning how to cook. Namely, that I would blast the stovetop burner, an electric burner no less, at its maximum. Every single time I would heat this very wok here, until the bottom actually started to turn red. And the seasoning on the inside would burn, and the inside would actually turn gray white. It was so hot. How hot was it? It was so hot that a lot of times when I started pouring oil into the wok, it would burst into flame right there and then, just like that. It was so hot that if I put pepper into it, if I put ground pepper into it, the pepper flakes would burn instantly. You'd see them turn red, red hot, and then turn into ash immediately. That was way too hot. And I did that again and again and again until I finally got it stuck in my head that, wait a second, I think I'm doing something wrong. And it took all that time for me to realize that you don't have to heat up your stovetop to the maximum, especially when cooking in cast iron. That, as I think I've said before, is how I ended up warping this large cast iron wok. In fact, it's true. This thick wok here is a spinner. Yep. Because I heated this thing maximum again and again and again, I ended up warping the bottom of the wok. Because again, what I did was there was a little hot spot on the very bottom of the wok that was far, far hotter than all around the sides. And the temperature difference was really what caused it to warp. I used safflower oil on my wok. I was going to get some canola oil for it, but grabbed safflower by mistake. Worked good, so I've stuck with it. Well, hey, there you go. As they say, whatever works. Fade out when stepping away. Well, that's why I made sure to take the microphone with me this time when I went over to here to read the comments. Why did you get it that hot? Because I didn't know any better. I was honest. Everything I've done with learning with cooking has been self-taught. I never went to culinary school. My family were really not the greatest cooks, as I found out sometime later. I mean, I grew up in an Italian family where it's assumed that everyone knows how to cook. The truth is, my grandmother knew how to make a few dishes very good. She could make her pasta sauce and her lasagna. But as far as really knowing the real rules and the real ways to cook, in such a manner that you don't ruin your food and you don't ruin your cookware, I mean, I was never taught that. I learned it all the hard way, which is why I just simply didn't know better. So I started out by blasting that wok on maximum again and again and again. Which obviously is something that I do not recommend to anyone. So if you're just starting out and learning how to cook, take this as a lesson. Instead of blasting it at maximum, put your cold pan on the stovetop burner and heat it no more than medium, and let it sit there at medium for at least maybe 5 to 10 minutes. That should be more than enough to get your pan hot enough for it to do some good cooking without ruining it. All right. Throw in another bit of corned beef. Good old trial and error method. Yes, indeed. I am definitely a student and a graduate of the trial and error school of cooking. On the other hand, maybe that might be why I still like trying new things. I think I'll mention at this point, even though we've got a ways to go before this live video is done, the next 2 weeks. Number one, next week is going to be a cast iron giveaway. Yes, you heard it here right now, folks. I'm going to be doing a giveaway on this on Cast Iron Live next Wednesday. What will be given away next Wednesday? A cast iron lamb mold. Yep. Lamb mold that's been sitting there since I acquired the Griswold lamb mold. Next week is the time, I think, when I will give away the original lamb mold. And I'm doing that because it's about a week or so before Easter. So this is the time of year for it. And the reason why I'm doing that next weekend is because 2 weeks from today is, what else? April Fool's Day, April 1st. And I like doing, well, things that are a little out of the ordinary on April Fool's Day. So I'm going to do my best to try to present a presentation on April Fool's Day 2 weeks from now that is a little bit different. And how is that going to turn out? I don't know yet. We'll find out. Okay, that's for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, right now, we have some more hash to do. Already looking good. It's really just a matter of getting everything nice and hot. Also, I'm doing this in batches, by the way, if you notice. I didn't put a whole ton of food in this and put so much food that the entire wok is filled up. I'm doing this in batches, which is not good if you're cooking for a family of like 5 or 6 kids. If I were doing that, I'd probably try some other way to do it. Maybe heat it in the oven, in a Dutch oven. Stands right now, I'm having a lot of fun. Okay. What do we have here? All right, lamb mold. How about no chaos for April Fool's Day? Well, that would be something unusual, wouldn't it? Yeah, believe me, if I could manage that, I certainly would. All right, you'll have lots of people, new people in the chat. Well, if the word gets around, good. Okay, cast iron hillbilly. It's great at certain tasks, high heat cooking and deep frying. Yes, that's true, Jim Glatar. A wok is kind of like a specialty tool. It's not a unitasker. There are many things you can use a wok for. But I suppose it's not a universal tool. It is very, very versatile, though. It's one of those kitchen items that I think you could call a must-have. You know what they say about having the essential kitchen tools? They say you need a cast iron pan. You need a good knife. You probably need a stock pot for boiling water. Probably a Dutch oven. At that point, then people trail off and say about other things that are their kitchen essentials. I would probably say a cast iron wok would be one of the top 5 utensils that you cooking tools anyway that you should have in your kitchen, along with a skillet, a knife, a Dutch oven. and a water boiler, all of which are definitely essential. Good spatula is good. Metal measuring cups are also really, really useful. And you won't realize that until you have a set of metal measuring cups yourself. That will probably be a subject for another live video, because I realize it's been a few years since I've talked about that subject on live. Tools for a cast iron kitchen. Maybe that might be about 3 weeks from tonight. But hey, at least I'm putting a schedule together. Things are not looking too badly now. Let's do this. This. Oh, yeah. When I was first starting out and learning how to cook in cast iron, and I was learning how to use this wok incorrectly, as I explained, I was so excited about this that I went out and looked for the right kind of cover for this wok. And I learned that traditionally, actually, the cover for your wok should go the way this is doing now, maybe about an inch or so inside. Apparently, this creates a better seal than having a lid that fits all around the edge, or so I'm told anyway. So, I mean, this wok is big enough that I've certainly enjoyed this lid like this. I do know that there are other folks out here who also have a big wok, and you do have a lid that fits exactly on the rim of the wok. And well, again, I'm not going to criticize you for that. I can only say that what I'm doing here is supposed to be traditional, for whatever that's worth. Since when do we follow tradition here? Lid I got from an online wok supply shop, and I think it's still online too. It's simply called The Wok Shop. Nice and simple. Right. Is there that much difference, Ron? When mold grows on lamb left in the fridge too long, I throw it out. I don't want lamb. Okay, not that kind of lamb mold, Radagast. Believe me, if I had that kind of lamb mold, I don't think people would be so excited about having a giveaway. I used a Scotch bowl for years before I got a wok. Yeah, it's the same idea, isn't it? You know, it's rounded. Walk, don't run. Yeah, the reason why they invented the Scotch bowl was pretty similar. The Scotch bowl was especially for making things like Scotch broth, you know, more sensitive foods that would burn if they were cooked in a flat bottom pot, especially on the edges. That's why they designed a rounded bottom. And similarly, I mean, as we know, woks have the rounded bottom, especially so that you can have a sweet spot in the center. All right, 14-inch wok on an electric coil stove. Yeah, Jamie Ledgerwood, that's how I started out. For years, I was using this 14-inch wok on an electric coil stove. Oh, on the other hand, I did learn one other trick, and that is, you know, you can preheat the wok in the oven before you cook it on the stovetop. There are some tips that talk about preheating a cast iron pan in the oven. You can do the same thing with your wok. Put your cast iron wok in the oven and heat it up to a good 450 or 500 degrees. Then you turn on the stovetop burner, let the burner get good and hot. Then you take the wok out of the stove, put it out of the oven, put it on top of the hot burner, and start cooking immediately. Mudbrooker, I found my wok lid in a second-hand shop, but it took a couple of years to find a lid big enough that I didn't have a wok under it already. I'm not quite sure what you mean by the end of that part. You understand you found your wok lid in a second-hand shop. And of course, nothing wrong with that. I mean, for most of us, including myself, much of the items I have here in my kitchen come from second-hand shops. as we know all very well, there is no shame with secondhand shops and flea markets. Ooh, this has got a nice crust to it. Nice. Nothing at all. If you are finding a secondhand utensil, if you judge that it's good enough for you to restore and use, and it turns out to be a good user, there is nothing wrong with using a secondhand piece of cookware. I mean, heck, I have no idea how old this wok shovel is. I found this wok shovel at the Brimfield Antique Show for $5. And I soaked it in the lye tank for an entire winter before taking it out in the spring and using it. And I've been using it ever since. All right. So far, so good. And here comes bowl number 2. Oops, careful, this is spilling out. My bad. All right, little by little. I'm not supposed to actually serve it like this because it's spilling all over the place. All right, you know what? Still, there we are. Here's number 2. We're 2 for 2 tonight. All right, having done that, I think I'll throw a little bit more oil in this time for the next egg. Just a touch. This time, let's try to do it without breaking the yolk. Yeah. Come on. Bill number 2. I think, in fact, there's a little piece of shell at the bottom of that, too. This one will be my egg. I got a hell of a find in a secondhand shop today. I'll show it off on my next show. Oh, nice. Glad to hear you got a good score there. Late to the party. Hello, Go to Coma 2. That's a nice name. Sorry it's been discussed, but are there any vintage woks that are collector pieces? I don't think there's anything specific regarding woks. I can't think of anything that you might say would be the equivalent of, say, the Erie Spider, for instance, you know, a type of brand or a type of or a type of model or anything like that. As far as woks go, it's really hard to say. I am not familiar enough with Chinese manufacturers to know if there is any particular brand or manufacturer name that you would want to go to for a wok. You know, like in Kill Bill, the Hattori Hanzo sword. I can't think of anything like that with a wok. I do know, though, of course, that when thin woks are concerned, I think most people would recommend carbon steel over cast iron. And I realize there are a couple of advantages to that. Carbon steel is a little bit more ductile. Arguably, it's a little bit of a better conductor of heat than cast iron. So if you're going to go for a light wok, you would probably want to go for a carbon steel wok as opposed to cast iron. Unless you're doing it the way we're doing it here. Water will steam the top of the egg. Yes, that's the idea, Radagast. This one's getting kind of bubbly for some reason. Maybe about another minute or so. Okay, after putting the egg in the wok, put a few drops in and put on the lid. Oh, I see what you mean. Fact. Yes, you're right. I've done that before, at least when melting cheese. Another cat. Yeah. Oh, yeah, another cat. That's a story for another time, I think. Miss Mobley is still doing fine. If this weather would ever get warmer again, I really want to get to the point where I can start letting Miss Mobley out again. I mean, it was up to 70 degrees early this week, but now we're getting back down again into the 30s and the 20s. Ugh. But I'm hoping it'll get warm enough so that I'll be able to start letting her out on a regular basis. Because she wants to go out. She's tired of staying indoors all the time. Good quality second is a good deal if you're going to use it. Yes, exactly. Okay. Now, oh yeah, hey, in fact, it's covered up the yolk. Oops. Put that over there. Where did that bowl go? Here it is. There we go. Crispy edges too. Sorry. I know the sound. The sound. Okay, take two. There we go. Crispy edges too. This is an interesting little one. However, that is number two. Might as well turn off the heat at this point. Because we've got ourselves some corned beef hash here. Number one. That was number two. Here's number one. Oh yeah. Fortunately, I am having a guest tonight, so we'll both be able to have some corned beef hash. All right. Shit. It's going to be 97 degrees here Friday. Where are you, Corey Clark? Arizona? Shit. Then Sunday, 57 degrees. All right. Yeah, is that one for me? If you're here, it would be. I know I've had two dear friends. I made them one of my favorite stir fry hash dishes. And they say that it's kind of spoiled them on corned beef. Ever since then, they don't like corned beef from a can. I do have another block of corned beef yet in the fridge that I still have to use. I figure probably by Friday or so, I think I'll make, in fact, my favorite corned beef hash. Yeah, this is the one that I call the chaos hash. And if you've seen this channel, you know which one that is. That's the one where I take the corned beef and I do potatoes, and then I add spinach and mushrooms, and then top that off with feta cheese. And the end result is, well, I have to say, I love it. So, right. Radagast, I lost power for 3 days straight. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Fuzz Fork. I mean, I can only hope everything's doing okay. None of your food's spoiled or any, house pets had any problems or anything like that. Warming begins on a Thursday. Well, not for us yet. We're going to have to get through another cool weekend. I'm hoping that the weather forecast for next week changes and it does start to warm up because, like I said, I do want to let my cat out. I suppose I should probably also mention that, yes, as you know, at least for the last, I think the last 10 years, maybe a little less, Lodge has also produced a smaller wok, a 9-inch wok. They call it the mini wok, I think, in fact. I had one of those, but didn't keep it very long. I know that there are folks who say that the mini wok is really useful for making single dishes. Although, considering that I made two single dishes in a row tonight in this 14-inch wok, well, I'm guessing that you probably need to do a little bit different style of cooking to make this in a, to make it in a 9-inch wok. Yes, has several sizes. And even the smallest bit of difference in size, I've found, makes a big difference when it comes to actually using and cooking it in it. As I mentioned, I got my mom a 12-inch cast iron wok, the kind that has one long handle rather than these two shorter handles here. And when she passed on, I inherited that cast iron wok. And I used it a few times and was not satisfied with it, and I ended up getting rid of it. First of all, I should mention that I do have several family heirlooms that I inherited from my parents that I will never get rid of. But I'm not going to consider every single thing that my parents had to be an heirloom, especially since I'm the one who got them that 12-inch wok in the first place. So I did not have a problem. I believe I gave away that 12-inch wok to someone who I hope has been getting a lot of use out of it. The 14-inch wok will be high enough that the food doesn't get pushed out of it. There is that. That's probably why I learned how to cook in this. And I would certainly say that as well, now that you mention it, a nice big pan like this 14-inch wok would really be helpful for someone who's just learning how to cook. So I will not disagree with that. Hope you didn't lose too much in the fridge. Yes, exactly. That's the real question. I know Mud said that he has a 14-inch wok, and I believe there's somebody else here in the chat who mentions they have one as well. Um, I mean, of course, stir fries. I mean, granted, obviously, everybody makes fried rice in their woks, and why not? I mean, fried rice is delicious. I'm wondering though, how many people know about American fried rice, aka ketchup fried rice? And here's the part where a lot of foodies would say, "Ew, ketchup! Why are you using ketchup?" But in fact, ketchup fried rice is a very popular dish, of course. And it's even more popular outside the United States, where in fact they call it American fried rice, probably because of the ketchup. However, it is actually a very tasty dish. And again, I am not interested in being a food snob. I've tried it, I've enjoyed it, I've made it several times. And I would certainly recommend it if you look up a recipe for ketchup fried rice or American fried rice. In fact, I have a recipe on my own website here for American fried rice. I let my cat come and go as she pleases. She's just turned 15, never any health problems. Well, I'm glad to hear that, William Hurt. Although you probably live in a more urban or country environment than I do. I live here in the suburbs, where, as you know, I lost one of my cats only a month after they started going out. On the other hand, this will be Miss Mobley's fourth year going out. So I can only hope that she enjoys herself and has many more pleasant years to go. Weather is great in the Florida Keys. Some rain, but we need it. Well, you're getting to the point, Winter Wolf, where, as you know, you'll be getting your regular 3 p.m. thunderstorms. Every pan has a learning curve, Cast Iron Hillbilly. Yes, that is absolutely the case. If you've been using, in fact, a lot of people just make stir fries in their cast iron skillets or maybe even a Dutch oven. And I have heard from people who say, "What's the point in using a wok when you have a Dutch oven?" There are differences, exactly as Cast Iron Hillbilly says. Every pan has a learning curve. There are differences between doing a Dutch oven type of stir fry, which can be done, and a wok stir fry, which also can be done. I mean, with a Dutch oven, because of the flat bottom, of course, there is the possibility of food getting stuck in the corners. What kind of hot dogs do you put in your American fried rice? I put hot dogs that I like in my American fried rice. I have made no secret of the fact that I like dollar store hot dogs. I mean, people go, "Ew, you know what's in those dollar store hot dogs?" Yes, I do. I think they taste good. I like dollar store hot dogs, and I don't have a problem cooking with them. However, when I do cook for friends, when I make American fried rice for my friends, I do use beef hot dogs. Of course, the cost of beef has gone up exponentially, so beef hot dogs are unfortunately more of a luxury now than they used to be. Nonetheless, when my friends come and visit, hopefully in about a month or so, they will still be treated to beef hot dogs. I have 7 indoor cats waiting to run and climb trees. Yeah, oh yeah, you're in the same boat that I'm in, Fuzz Fork. Although I only have 1 cat. Right. Nathan's are the best hot dogs. And here's where we can get into brand wars. Nathan's versus Kayam versus Ballpark Franks or Sabrettes. Anybody who's from New York City will know that Sabrettes are probably the hot dog to have in New York City. Even though I've been living here in New York for 3.5, almost 4 years now, I am not going to say that I am a convert to New York hot dogs like Sabrettes, for instance. Like I said, I still like my dollar store hot dogs, at least for myself. I try to buy hot dogs without nitrates. That's not easy these days, unfortunately. And furthermore, it probably means they're getting very expensive as well because everything's getting expensive, regrettably. All right. I get my hot dogs from a local butcher. Best homemade hot dogs ever. NYC equals Sabret hot dogs. Yes, but oh yeah, local butcher. Well, you definitely have some inside connections then, Mud. That means you can really eat your hot dogs like a king and enjoy it because I mean, certainly nothing wrong with that. On the other hand, right now, I would say that once this video is over, I think we'll be eating like a king as well. I certainly have no complaints with how this corned beef hash here turned out. I mean, it's all nice and crispy. So I'm actually quite happy with this one here. Yeah, I mean, earlier this year, I think there was, or last year, late last year, there was a period of like about 3 or 4 weeks or so where my cooking attempts here on the live did not turn out the greatest. Fortunately, the last few weeks, well, I seem to have had some better luck, and I hope that luck streak of luck continues. Next week, as I mentioned, even though I'm having a giveaway, I'm going to be doing my live Q&A session. So it's actually not going to be cooking next week. Next Wednesday is going to be again the one where I get to stand in front of my cast iron collection and you get to toss questions at me because, largely because I usually do that on the first of the month. However, as I mentioned already, the first of the month, 2 weeks from today, is April Fool's Day. And that's when I'm going to try to do something a little bit different. But so next week is going to be AMA, Ask Me Almost Anything, anything related to cast iron at least. Personal questions, no. But I enjoy those kind of conversations, and I hope you folks do too. Especially since, like I said, we will be having a cast iron giveaway next week of the cast iron lamb mold, and not that kind of lamb mold, a cast iron lamb mold. Ketchup on fried fish is great. I like the question and answers Wednesday. Well, that's what we're going to be having next week. That's for sure. Even though it's only about only a little, almost 9:15. I'm like maybe about 10 minutes earlier. I'd say at this point we have pretty much accomplished everything we set out to do last night. These stir fries are fast, and this demonstrates it in that I had 2 of them done, and we've had plenty of time to have a conversation as well. And that's one of the many reasons why stir fries are so popular. Because just that, I hope I didn't kill the sound. No, I didn't. Okay. Yeah, because again, because they're so fast and easy that this is the type of thing you could do after work. I mean, I know it's like when you get home from work tired, you really don't want to do anything. But a stir fry is refreshing. They talk about cooking therapy, and I could certainly agree with that. I consider cooking to be a kind of meditation. It certainly helps me to relax and concentrate and shut out the outside world for a little while. I would like that kind of lamb mold. Well, if you like that kind of lamb mold, Radagast, you can grow it yourself. Okay, but yes, go to Coma 102. Feel free to spread the word because I am not averse. I would actually rather welcome having a lot more people in the chat. I mean, granted, we've got 42 people here even now, so that's really little to complain about. Oh yeah, and that's right. I forgot because we were interrupted by my own stupid mistake an hour ago. So that might very well be why there are a little fewer people here than there were before. And that is my own fault. And I can only apologize for that. I still don't know what I did. I must have bumped something the wrong way. I'll get the hang of it one of these days. Okay, excuse me. But other than that, hello, Cynthia Wesley. You're on your Call of Duty. Well, we are about to call it an evening for tonight, but I will say it again. Cynthia Wesley, next week we are having a cast iron giveaway. So feel free to spread the word and feel free to let your friends know and feel free to be here next week on Cast Iron Wednesday. Whereas tonight, once I'm done talking here, I'm going to enjoy chowing down on some corned beef hash. And that takes care of St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I hope your St. Patrick's Day was as much fun as this. I mean, I worked, of course. A lot of us worked yesterday. But other than that, we got a chance to pretend to be Irish for a while. And most of all, a chance to have fun and cook something nice, like corned beef and hash. And so, yes, and thank you very much then, Winter Wolf. And thank you to everybody, as always, who have been kind enough to be here for Cast Iron Wednesday, whether it's this week or any other week. Because, again, it's really the conversation with all you folks that I appreciate more than anything else. I love these live videos because I really enjoy entertaining you folks. It's a lot of fun cooking here live, and I certainly look forward to doing it each week. So thank you so much to William Hurt and Corey Clark. It was just another work day. Well, it was for me too, but once it was done, then I got to eat some corned beef and cabbage. And R.T. Scott and Winter Wolf and Kevin Brown, have a good night. And Jamie, oh yeah, and Jamie Ledgerwood. Well, thank you for being here very much, Jamie. And thank you to everybody. And thank you to Clico and Cast Iron Hillbilly, Fuzzfork228, sorry, and Radagast and everybody else. And yeah, I can only hope that the information that I blab about might come in useful too, whether it's cooking in a wok or even maybe just buying a wok, or maybe cooking the right way so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did and end up warping your cast iron. But we will continue this next week because that will certainly be a topic of conversation when we have our cast iron Q&A session, Ask Me Almost Anything. Along with, once again, there will be a giveaway next week of the cast iron lamb mold. So thank you to everybody once again for being here. I hope I've done my best to entertain you folks tonight. And I hope you've had fun because we are getting ready to do the rest of the week and then the weekend. And then we will start all over again next week. So until then, as always, like I like to say, see you next Wednesday.